Good morning or good afternoon, good evening, depends on where you are in the world, I guess. This is Morten from Inkish. I have today the pleasure to talk to a gentleman that has just recently been promoted in his business, and the business is a company in the US called General Formulations, and it got my attention because you are in the, let's say, consumable fields of pressure-sensitive material that can also be used in print. I think it can be used in many industries, right? But welcome, Dan.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate the opportunity and the reach out and meeting new friends across the globe, of course. We're very thankful for that.
I mean, isn't it amazing? Because I think that we have been connected with each other for 10 minutes or something like that now, but we have already been smiling and joking and laughing, right? So, that is maybe a very good evidence that people across the globe can get along and actually can have maybe a lot of opportunities. Who knows? It depends on us as human beings, right? But tell me a little bit, because when I look at your website, and let's start with the company before we talk about you. General Formulations, you have a few locations in America, as far as I remember, and you have like your headquarter is in. Tell me, because I have read it, but I forgot it right now.
No problem. We're in a small rural town by the name of Sparta, Michigan. We're just north of Grand Rapids, so we're on the west side of Michigan. Fun fact for all of those that are not familiar with our state here, you can represent our state with a hand right here, and we're right about there on the state.
And you have Detroit on one side and Chicago on the other side. And
yes, that's correct.
I have actually been in Grand Rapids 2 times, so I have an approximately idea of where you are located, at least. So, and I was driving from Chicago up north to Grand Rapids, so maybe I have passed your factory. Who knows, right?
Very close to us, for sure. You're certainly welcome anytime.
Thank you very much, sir. And tell me a little bit about what you do, because as I said, pressure sensitive materials. What is that, and how does that apply to what we do in the printing industry?
Well, General Formulations has been family owned for 72 years now, since 1953. And we're a community sponsored, family owned business here in Sparta, Michigan, like we mentioned. And we specialize and have become a global manufacturer of pressure-sensitive print media with cross-platform portfolio of film and laminate solutions. And we're backed by a lot of experience, a lot of research and development, a fabulous sales team. And our product offerings include rolls for wide format and sheets for narrow format digital printers, as well as punch, media for cut and craft, offset print technologies, and we also do cast and vehicle wrap films as well. So quite a broad offering of products and services that we've become very well known for and are very proud of, to be honest with you.
It's funny because you say that you ended up being there, so I guess that 72, 73, 74 years ago, it was a totally different company, right?
Very much so. Yeah, it has grown, as many companies do over that period of time. Has seen its highs and lows, but to be honest with you, this business has been blessed with business along the way, has grown consistently and quite efficiently. And in a way, it's kind of our challenges coming up in the future. We'll get a little bit more into what we're doing here in a moment, I'm sure, but one of our challenges really is how do you handle the growth? How do you build and how do you create a platform that will support the future growth? We already do what we do now. We do it very well, but what does it look like in 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? You just can't keep adding buildings, so that causes those challenges and questions of the future. What do you do for that growth? And we're in a very exciting time right now. We're writing chapters in our book that have never been written before, and I am very, very excited to be part of that authorship, if you will, of the new chapters coming up.
I can imagine. Dan, I was just thinking, I know that, of course, there's a bit of difference between Europe and the US when it comes to legislation, but does something like the single use of plastic and the use of these kind of materials influence anything in a business like yours?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing that. If you could
Oh,
repeat that, please.
yeah, yeah. No, I'm just saying that I know that legislations are different in US and Europe, but in Europe we have these long discussions about single use of plastics and using that. Does the let's say the increased focus on sustainability, does that play a role also in a company like yours?
Oh, it most certainly does. In fact, I'm very proud to say that in 2024 that we just wrapped up here, we salvaged and repurposed and removed from the landfill process 2,657,958 pounds of film. And I'm very
Wow.
proud to say that we removed that out of the landfill.
And you were very
Uh,
accurate, right?
yeah, very accurate. Well,
Yeah, yeah.
precise.
Mm.
And
And
we're very proud of that fact. It's our first year of really tracking and really putting a focus on how do we remove landfill waste and how do we repurpose it? How do we find additional second tier partnerships with that? We've been very successful with that. And moving forward in continuation of that type of program, our next level of push really is designed around how do we reduce and eliminate scrap production in the first place.
mm,
And we're very heavily invested in doing that
mm.
currently.
Is that something? I mean, because I think at first people can always be a little bit worried that when we have the sustainability agenda, then it can cost you money. But I am actually thinking that sometimes if you do it right, you can make money on actually having the green agenda as part of your business. And I'm just curious about it because I was thinking that everybody that works in consumables, of course, consumables in itself say that it is something we consume, and you want to sell as much as possible. But I guess that you always want to also have as a little negative impact on anything as possible. So I was just wondering, do you see that as a business opportunity as well?
Well, we've actually made it a business opportunity, and I'm glad that you asked that. With the weight of the 2.7 million pounds, we saw two benefits financially. The first benefit is that we didn't pay for those 2.7 million pounds to go to landfill, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's very
Mm-hmm.
expensive to do.
Yeah.
And then the second benefit of that is that we actually sold to our other partnerships that we developed this material that normally would be landfilled. So
Ah.
it was a win-win from a financial standpoint, but it also was a win from a sustainability and a recycling and an earth friendly standpoint, if you will.
Perfect. Let's go back to you. So you talked about the challenge about how to, make sure that you can grow. And I guess that since you mentioned that, you have maybe already a plan for how you want to grow and how you can do that in a way that makes sense.
Well, we do. This is a very strategic heavy organization. We look at a lot of what we're going to do tomorrow. We're very proud of the net effects of what we've done yesterday, but that's already done. And so moving forward, we spend a lot of time in the leadership group that we have here and that we've developed in planning from the front end of the business for sales and forecasting and predicting as best we can of what we're going to have being brought in and what the trends are, what the industry is looking for, and then bringing that inside and determining how do we fulfill that both from the coding end of our operations all the way through semi-finished goods and the storage and inventory of that, being ready to go, and then being able to produce our final rolls or sheets out to the industry, to our customers in what we deem as being very effective yet very fast delivery schedules. So one of our claims to fame is that we deliver our products in 1 to 3 days. Many of our competitors still produce in 1 to 3 weeks, and we're very proud of that fact. We are nimble, but we
Wow.
also hold a very large inventory here ready to go. So when the customer orders, we're not having to go through the supply chain mechanism, which in many cases takes weeks to get fulfilled before you can even get to a semi-finished state. But we have a lot of inventory here that we keep on hand so that we can react quickly and efficiently for our customer base.
In a moment, we're going to talk about your new role because you're also responsible for the purchasing. So I guess that being responsible for the purchasing and having these efficiency gains on the logistics part is probably not the most easy thing in the world, right?
Well, this came about as a mistake, actually, or a trial, I should say. We've always had somebody in the role of the purchasing, leadership, and management. And recently we lost a person in that role, and there was a business need. So I kind of filled in kind of ad hoc or kind of as a fill-in, if you will, in short term. And we kind of tested it for 3 months, almost 4 months, and decided that it actually was showing tremendous benefit to the organization. It was allowing us to tie together a stronger bond and a faster reaction between the purchasing end of our business all the way through the operations. Because when I came on board in November of 23, so just over a year ago, I came in as the finishing plant manager. And so it was a benefit for all of us in the organization to be able to tie those things together. And I will say the only reason and the only way that I could pull this off of absorbing an entire full-time position on top of my current full-time position is because of the operations and the purchasing teams that are in place here at General Formulations. I would put against anybody in the industry. They do a phenomenal job. And for me to be able to then be a leader and not have to actually manage through the process makes it very efficient for me to be able to be in both roles and then strategically start combining some of the advantages that we wanted to put together.
And as you say, being head of the operation on the finishing part, and at the same time also make sure that you get the goods to finish, is probably not a bad combo in order to make sure that you get the efficiency you need. And I guess that it's a huge competitive edge, as you mentioned, to be able to deliver faster to the market, because then people in the other end don't need to stock too much inventory at the same time. So I guess that is like super nice. And then talking about General Formulation's success in the market, because you told me that during these 70 plus years you have grown and become a larger player in the market. Is it, I mean, probably impossible, but is there a few keywords that can describe what has made you so successful?
Speed to the marketplace for sure. Quality, we have a very high quality measurement. We have vendors that in our years of partnership with them have grown to understand our high level of quality and expectations. And when we bring on new vendors, sometimes it's very difficult because our high level of quality and expectations carries through to the raw materials that we receive. And we have a very high return rate and refusal rate sometimes with new vendors. And then pricing. You know, we're very sensitive to the fact that it's fine to get it out fast. It's fine to have great quality, but if it's not at the right price point or what the market will bear and share, it doesn't make a difference. So we find a balance between all three of those and have been very successful in making sure that we hold that balance and keep that close.
In America, I think as everybody knows, there's saying a growing attention on American made. I mean, since you are an American manufacturer, even though you deliver to the global market, how important is it for especially the American customers you have?
Well, we have some very interesting political times coming up, not just in the United States, but globally. You know, in our pre-meeting before we started this podcast, you know, there's some interesting things and times coming on right now, and not knowing what the future holds for all of us, I think it's very important for us as a U.S.-based manufacturer to make sure that we have raw materials and supply chains that are readily available for the times that there are disruptions. You know, it wasn't too long ago that we all went through an epidemic, and things get disrupted in a very, very short period of time. There is conflicts around the world right now, and just having the availability of raw materials to be able to produce and keep things seamless is very important to us, to be able to supply to our customer base. And so we spend a lot of time making sure that we have raw materials in our supply chain domestically located and at the ready for us to be able to deliver on time.
But that was a great answer, but I was just thinking from, let's say that for example, my personal thing about the European situation, where we also in Europe acquire a lot of raw materials and prefabricate from China, for example. And I don't like that, because I think the political scheme in China is not what I believe in, right? And I was just thinking in America, I think there's an even stronger mentality that, okay, let's insource as much as possible. I guess as a player in the market of something that is so important as laminations and pressure sensitive material, it must also make you hopefully a preferential choice for American company.
I think that's true. I
Mm,
very much do think that's true because of the high quality standards that we have and the expectations that follows that in
mm.
American-made products.
I
Uh,
remember because we were filming from the German manufacturer Leonhard Kurz. Do you know them? They make foils, metallization. But they have always been seen as a manufacturer in Germany. But actually now they also have a huge factory in the US, and by having that factory in the US, they gain market shares on that particular thing because Americans like to have American material. And I'm not trying to have any necessarily any political discussion. I'm just because I think I like what's from Denmark and you like what's from America. I think it's natural that we want to to to, to maintain our employees and their works and things like that. But it's also because I think it makes us proud of what we can do. And I think when I spoke to you and I seen your website, I just want to say to everybody watching this, by the way, that you should go to the the General Formulations website because they have a lot of examples on both on vehicles, on uh, big buildings that are plastered with a fantastic print, so you can actually see some of your products in at work basically. So, but I hope you get my point that it's not to be political. It's more about being like interested in how it is operating a company in a market that is under all circumstances becoming more interested in domestic produced products.
Yeah, I think that's very true. Again, with the political climate and the things that are going on, the skirmishes and the disagreements and all of these things that go on, we've had tremendous success having vendors that may be homed and home based in
Mm,
other countries,
mm.
but have seen the benefit of bringing on satellite operations into the United States, which allows us to increase our inventory capabilities, both
Oh,
in
so
our own
that you have
facilities
seen that
here.
way around. That is actually very smart, right? Because I mean, it seems like I think it was wasn't it Michael Dell that once had like all his subcontractors was actually almost door to door with the manufacturing of PCs at the good old 90s, right? So you see basically also that some of your subcontractors are moving closer to where you operate.
Yeah, I do think that's true as well.
Mm, mm,
We're almost in a mode of just-in-time delivery, and
yeah.
now we're on the west side of Michigan,
Mm,
which the auto industry is on the east side of Michigan, only 2.5, 3 hours away. So this community, this workforce that we have the privilege of having here, is one of the best in the world. I can
mm,
say that. I've had
mm,
global responsibilities before in manufacturing, and this is one of the best workforces you'll ever see.
mm,
And with that, we're used to supplying to the auto industry. Tier one is right to the auto manufacturers themselves. Tier two is to maybe a subset that then goes to the auto manufacturers. So we're used to tier one, tier two
mm,
suppliership in this region to the auto industry. And my point of that is that the auto industry requires just in time delivery,
yeah.
right? And with that, I think that the industry is morphing more towards that. And because of our pressure internally and our strategic decisions to make sure that we're delivering faster than anybody else with high quality and the right price, that all falls in line. Our workforce is used to doing that, but our supply chains are also used to doing that, and our leadership's used to doing that. And at
Mm,
the end, what it means is that we get that 1 to 3 day delivery for the right price and the highest quality that you can achieve with an American made product,
mm,
and using our vendors and in being able to use them to supply us just in time. We then supply our end user just in time. So
mm.
it all fits together. It's complicated, but it all fits together.
I can imagine. So, is there a lot of competition in exactly what you do, or have you found a niche that is nice to be in for your company?
Well, there's always competitors, and I think that makes a healthy balance for
Yeah,
both the consumer as well as the manufacturer. Keeps everybody honest, if you will.
yeah, yeah.
But what we've done is we've been strategic. We push very hard. We push fast, and we have customers that we have some very large customers that
Mm,
expect these things as well. And at the end of the day, what it does is allows us to push ourselves and have stretch goals and accomplishments that we normally wouldn't have in a docile environment, and that brings us to the top. It allows us to be leaders,
mm,
but it also puts a target on you. So everybody's
mm,
trying to catch up to you. So you
mm.
have to stay out front all the time.
From a personal perspective, Dan Collins, what drives you as a human being? I mean, what makes you wake up every morning and say, "Wow, now we go and get them."
That's a great question, to be honest with you. Over the years, it has changed. It used to be management. It used to be more of efficiencies, that kind of thing, which is how I came up through the industries. But in the last 10 years in particular, I have focused my efforts on the development of teams and leadership. And so what drives me is being able to come into our facility and know that our teams are challenged, they're rewarded, and they produce at a very high level. And so those conversations that we have in the rooms with our other leaders and our managers and our floor space individuals, it's very rewarding to see the different layers and levels and giving opportunities with our growth and the blessing of our businesses we've had to be able to then give opportunities within other individuals here. And just in this last year, we have opened up a wider category of job offerings, opportunities, and postings internally. And we do try to promote from within, and that has worked out very well for us. I have on my staff, I should count, but I'll just say probably a dozen people that have more than 20 years here. I have a couple people that have 30 years here. Wow. I have an operator on a piece of machinery that's been on the same piece of machinery for 30 years, and he is outstanding, and he loves it here. Nice. That says something about the culture that's hard to find.
Oh yeah. And how, I mean, and talking about that, how difficult/easy is it to recruit new people?
Well, it's becoming more difficult, like everybody else. I don't know what happened after COVID. All the people went away.
Apparently.
And it's hard to find
disappeared.
People, right? In all industries, they just disappeared, right?
Yeah.
But what I'm going to see is that I think our challenge coming into the future isn't having people that can become the specialist on machinery like we have now. We have to buy a machinery that's very easy to operate so that other levels of capability can come in and be experts in a shorter period of time. And that's challenging. So we are working with vendors of machinery to try to make that an easier transition for us.
So you see the same trends as you see in so many other industries, that more automation, more robots, more easier user interfaces, and basically a higher productivity in relation to a higher investment.
Of course, and that's not to remove the jobs. There's plenty of opportunities for the physical portion of it. Yeah. We just have to transition into roles and uses of equipment in different means so that our jobs change, but they're still here and available for the employment aspect of it, but we still have high safety, automation, and more efficiency with equipment coming on in the future.
Fantastic. Dan, thank you very much for your time here on Inkish. I think it gave me and hopefully our audience a little insight in some of the interesting topics about your industry and what you're doing, and I hope that it's not only the automotive industry but also a few printing companies from time to time that will buy from you.
Well, we greatly appreciate this opportunity. It's been a joy to meet you and your listeners. I hope that people have found great use of this, and if they are interested, please check us out at www.generalformulations.com. There is a lot of information on there. We'd be happy to help you at any time.
And besides Dan's fantastic mention of the website, it also is in the description just up there. So don't worry, you can always find Dan. That's great.
Very good.
Dan, thank you very much, and have a wonderful day.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.